and thank you once again for tuning in with me to the 30-day mental diet. Today's lesson, we are doing day number 11. And I want to remind everybody that's tuning in today that this is a marathon, not a sprint. It's 30 days, it's not forever. Keep pushing forward and you will see major positive progress in your life. Today's lesson, day 11, develop confidence in yourself. And the subheading says, learn to do the right things in the right way. And as usual, let us go into the introduction of this lesson. Naturally, you like to feel that you are doing the right thing at the right time. But too often, in looking back, you realize that you should have acted other than the way you did. To all intents and purposes, you were sure that you did your best at the time, but did you? Did you use all the resources at your command? You are not alone. When you arrive at any decision regarding a course of action, you carefully evaluate all the information available, judge the possible outcomes of various decisions, and then select what appears to be the most favorable in spite of how much you might know. How much advice you might be able to secure, still the most desirous results may not be achieved. It is at this point that it is necessary to remember that you are not alone. You are part of life, an expression of infinite intelligence, and have access to the one mind in which all things are known. Very good introduction today about developing self-confidence. And it's quite ironic if we think about this title, developing self-confidence. Think back when you were a child, an infant even, and when you had a problem or a decision to make that you weren't sure, you would turn to the elders among you. Sometimes it's your father, your mother, maybe your older brother, your older sister, whoever it is, someone that had more experience. And you went to them to ask them for decisions, to help you make the decision on the course of actions. And sometimes you might think back and you realize that some of the things, you think back today on some of the things that you experienced as your youth, and you realize at that time it may have been very, very traumatic. But when you look back at it now, you realize you were a child and you thought like a child. Now you are grown. And because you're grown, you do not seek any help from anybody. I am grown. I make my own decision. I'm my own man. I'm my own woman. I am independent. And this is far from the truth, because no one or two persons has a monopoly on good information. There is an abundance, an infinite amount of information in the universe and in the world that we live in. We cannot possibly know all this information, but there is one mind that knows the right path. And that one mind, that infinite mind of God, will show you the easiest path and the more favorable path for yourself. So maybe I should take back the word easier. Maybe that infinite mind knows the best path for you. It may not be the easiest path in your eyes, but at the end of the day, when you reach your goal, you'll realize that you are divinely guided and that was the best path, and you got the best result. So I want to think that as we grow older, we develop self-confidence from the experiences that we had when we were youths and we passed through those years. Okay, let's go down to the next paragraph. Your partnership with life. I'm in the middle of the paragraph, okay? By what process did you convert the steak you ate last night into energy for today's endeavors? If you really ever tried to be independent and isolate yourself from all activities, you would find yourself in a sorry predicament. You gratefully accept and take for granted your dependency on all of these functions of living. But when it comes to thinking, do you feel that it is your own personal achievement? Yes. Yes, that's a good question there. We all would like to believe that we have done everything in our own strength. And in this chapter, it builds up on who produced your food, who planted the food, who processed the food. Okay, in fact, how does your food get processed in your body? We are helped by microorganisms in our body to process oxygen, food, and to heal our body. We consciously don't think of these things. But think about, you have an infinite God that will guide you into all truth and to all your goals if you would just consult them. Now think about this now. If you are a married person, or you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, and your significant other makes all the decisions without you, how would you feel? Or vice versa, you make all your decisions and do not consult your significant other. But when you come together and you collaborate together and everyone has input, then you find that you have a more well-rounded result. You have a more peaceful result, especially if you're married. You're much more peaceful result, if you will come together. But why do we make decisions without first sitting back and finding out what the infinite mind, which way the infinite mind thinks that we should go? Think about this now. I have a GPS in my car. A lot of times when I come back from home, there's a lot of traffic in the rush hour. And I push the button on the GPS. And the GPS will sometimes tell me, before I got on the road, it is giving me a big picture of the city that I live in. And it's saying to me, there is an accident on this highway, so you should go this way and detour. Or this is the fastest route home, even though this route I have to pay a toll because there is something happening over here on this road on your regular route. Well, think about that when you're making any type of decision. When you can get out there and you can start to work and plow ahead. But when you sit back and you meditate and you pray and you ask the infinite mind for help, the infinite mind knows the answers to all your problems. And right away, he or she will send the answers to your problems, send guidance, send serendipitous things your way. Bridges of events will happen to make your course. smooth. It's almost like you have a guardian angel at all times that's going to guide you. But you must inquire. You must learn to hear the voice of the infinite God. We spoke on a previous lesson about God visiting us at night on our beds in our dreams. There's a lot of times we are so caught up in the day, in the noise of the day, that we don't take time to meditate and listen to the still small voice of God. And this is what we're talking about here. And as we start to listen to the voice of God more, we will develop more self-confidence. Okay, let's move forward. Are you only half thinking? As you have come to realize that your mind is not your mind, but an aspect of infinite mind, you will find that all too often you have tried to go your own way, but without recognizing the greater potential that is available to you. In every situation, in every decision, and every action, you should accept and permit the influx and guidance of the mind greater than your mind. Don't confine your thinking to what you think you know. When an unlimited reservoir of knowledge is available to you, why accept the lesser when the greater is always yours for the accepting? You know, in the Bible, the New Testament, Christ said that men ought always to pray and not to faint. And this is what it is being said in this paragraph. Why not go to the infinite in all your decisions? He said there is so much potential out there. And when you go to this infinite mind of God, you are guided rightly every time. Men are always to pray and not to faint, not to be weary. Do not be weary on asking. Okay? God is here, the Spirit of God is here to guide you. Anytime you resist that guidance and you feel that you want to go ahead and do it by yourself, it is really your ego. It is really your ego because you want to be independent and you want to be non-dependent. You want to be your own God. Trust the infinite mind of God. Trust him. Let's move down. The course of action. There's no one living who of himself can possibly know without any question of doubt the perfect decision or course of action. One may make it appear that he does, but such a thing is impossible to man's worldly wisdom. Okay, so right there is just what we're saying. It is impossible for any single man to know all information that's out there. Trust the mind of God. Let's continue to read. When you need to determine a course of action, there must be a gathering together of all the facts, all the evidence, all the information relative to the situation. This done, you must then consciously subject them to the action of infinite mind. History is filled with dramatic illustrations of divine guidance. And the thing for you to remember is that this is not a sometime thing, nor just for special people. It is always available to those who avail themselves to it. It's very, very true. There's a lot of people, even common people in their day-to-day lives, if you speak to people, they will say, you know, I was divinely guided on this decision. This decision wasn't mine. The scripture said Christ himself people were asking him about the miracles that he did. And he said, it is not I that do it. It is the Father within me. he doeth the work. So even the great Christ himself did not walk in his own ego. He acknowledged that all that he has done on the earth, it was not him. It was the Father in him. Yet we deify Christ, and Christ is saying, no, deify the Father, because the Father in me, he does the work. And then he goes on to say that the works he has done, you also shall do, and greater works. Why? Because the same Father, the same infinite mind of God will guide you also. Okay, let's go on. I'm at a good habit. The power that thinks as you rightly directs and guides you. The course of events which follow this type of thinking may often conform to what you first felt should occur. And then again, you may find yourself proceeding in an entirely different direction, one you had not originally thought of, but which leads to more favorable results than you anticipated. Very, very true. And like I said before, that spirit is like a GPS, or a global positioning system, that's guiding you along through your travels here on earth. And the spirit sees all things. So all you have to do is trust that still small voice. Trust him. When you meditate, listen. When you pray, listen. Do not just pray, say your words, and then get up. Take time to be quiet and listen. When you're going through your day, be quiet. Things happen, do not react. Just sit back in your peaceful state and listen for the voice of God guiding you along. Okay, we're at acknowledge your partnership. The ability to make right decisions, to have right actions occur in your experiences, rests entirely on your knowing the infinite intelligence is active in and through your thinking and actions, and that in everything connected with your life, you are rightly, divinely guided. So this is what we have to do. We have to acknowledge that we have a partner. Just like I said before, if you are married and you don't make some decisions with your partner, you're not acknowledging them. And is same thing vice versa. If your partner made decisions and did not come to you, you would feel kind of slighted. But when you come together, both of you, you'll find you have much more peaceful decisions and much more peaceful interactions, because the things that your partner thinks about, you may not have thought about. I always remember when I bought my first house, I went to the closing with my wife, and my wife is a detailed person. She reads every little details. And while I'm signing papers, my wife looked at the mortgage contract and said, "This is not what you promised us." And it was off, the numbers were off by a quarter percentage point. And she pulled out the statement on the interest rate we were supposed to get. I didn't even think about these things. But she saved us a lot of money because she was there in the decision making. And I'm sure you've had these things happen in your life also, where you had somebody, a friend, a family, a spouse, whatever, a significant other, that they were there and you were glad they were there because they help you make a more rational, a better decision. Okay, so let me read down Henry James. I'm going to read a quote here from Henry James. "We inhabit an invisible spiritual environment from which our help comes our soul being mysteriously one with a larger one whose instruments we are. That's right. Like we said before, in him we live and move and have our being. We are not alone. Accept your partnership with God and know that he is there all the time, and acknowledge him in all that you do, and he will direct your path. Okay, religion. Oh, John 5:30, 14, and 14:10. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the work. Wow, look at that. That's the text I quoted earlier. The Father in you, that infinite mind of God that's in you. Whether you want it, you must acknowledge that always constantly remember that God is with you. You're never alone in this in your travels here on earth. Let's read the diet together. I have confidence in my ability to achieve every good thing I undertake. For I know that from the divine center within, I am properly guided and directed to do the right thing at the right time in the right way, as I am a focal point of infinite intelligence in which all things are known. There is made known to me that which I should do for the greatest good for myself and those about me. I cease hesitating, wondering, and doubting, and release to the action of divine mind the making of those correct decisions which guide me into a greater experience of joyous living. In God, there is only right action, and as I now turn to and accept his action in my life today, all is as it should be. God's life is my life. God's intelligence is my intelligence. And I now remove all ideas of separation from and gratefully acknowledge my unity with that power greater than I am. As I now let God become a partner in all that I do, there follows increased confidence in living. Beautiful, beautiful diet. Beautiful diet. We are never alone. And I want to thank you for going along day by day in the 30-day mental diet. I'm trusting that you're having positive results, and maybe you're getting an epiphany here and there. Give us a like, a thumbs up, and send us a message in the comment section if you about your experiences during the 30-day mental diet. And I want to see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you once again for tuning in to the 30-day mental diet.